Awesome. So here we are again on a Tuesday night, kicking off another Advancement League Insider Calls. Today, we're talking all things recruitment and retention, which is our topics that cover not only healthcare but really a topic that every industry is trying to figure out. So we have two experts in the room who are volunteering their time on a Wednesday night. So we appreciate you all. I'll kick it off to them to introduce themselves, starting with Morgan.
Perfect. Thank you, Antoine. So my name is Morgan Best, and I'm the owner and founder of ML Best Consulting, and we're an executive search firm that focuses on director all the way up to board level searches. In the healthcare industry, we do work in private equity, VC, and also tech. So we've been around for about 6 months, but no stranger to the different organizations, the different industries that we serve. So happy to be here. Thank you so much.
All right, nice intro, Morgan, and nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right, hi everyone. I'm Latoya Henry Ojibana. I'm the Assistant Director of Talent Acquisition at Mon Health. Prior to that, I worked at Geisinger Health System. Geisinger included their own education side. They had their School of Medicine, as well as 13 hospitals, inpatient, outpatient world. And prior to that, I do have some experience in firms, pretty much the firms, as well as education industry. So talent acquisition, recruitment, retention, the transition, been in it for over 15 years now, and I've seen the growth and changes to the model, best practice. So I'm excited to share my nuggets that I've learned along the way, some tricks of the trade, and happy to answer some of the key questions that you guys have today.
Awesome. So we'll jump right into it. As mentioned, not only the healthcare industry, but really the world at large is trying to figure out how to recruit and, more importantly, how to retain talent. Everyone's struggling. Would love to kind of start at a high level. What are you all seeing? What are you hearing? Has it made your job more exciting or more stressful? Please do. We have a lot of individuals who are leaders, who are students, who are thinking about entering the footsteps and the shoes that you all have started to lead. So I'll start with Latoya and you can just kick it off.
Yeah, sure. Retention's big, right? And recruitment and retention have definitely been partners along the journey. And so I don't think there's a one answer to retention. You do have to have a menu of things when it comes to retention, and you have to engage your leaders a lot. And you all are leaders, or you may be entering into leadership, and you have to know how to get them to understand, what does engagement look like? And it doesn't mean everyone needs to be happy. Just get that out your mind. Everyone is not going to be happy. You're going to always have people that are not satisfied with their roles and their career path. So, the first thing I did coming to Mon Health, I've been there a year and a half now in this system director role and launching recruitment. Let them know I can bring in the talent. I will find you the quality individuals you need, but what I need from you is to figure out how to retain them. What is important to your staff? And you have to know what generation you're talking about, because retention is not going to fit a box for everyone. So you need to have those one-on-ones. You need to understand, is my person close to retirement? Do I need to retain a big portion of that? Do I need to keep them on part-time, per diem, figure out some other role in the system for them? Is my person a young, right out of college? They're going to want to be challenged. They're going to want to know, what is your 3-year plan or less nowadays? They want to be able to climb the ladder or have something that keeps them challenged and in front of the key people in the industry. So you really need to understand who your team is and what is it going to take to retain them. Is it different appreciation? Is it different, something that we started as a sunshine card, which is not new, which each quarter we go around and we have a theme and we show them that we appreciate them. We thank them for what they do, and our team leads that. So a lot of recruiters sometimes focus on just bringing the people in, but if your leaders are not ready to have that dialogue, be involved and get to know their team, they're going to lose them just as fast, and you're going to have more than just money to keep them there. And I'll stop there.
I love that. No, that was very all-encompassing. And thank you so much, Latoya, for that. So I mean, from a challenging perspective in the industry, especially in healthcare, the things that we're facing on the executive search front are just is the competition. I mean, everyone is looking for a change. Different organizations are looking, especially from an executive search diversity perspective, looking at to really hone in and understand different ways to have an inclusive environment. And as you all know, that starts from the top. So the war for talent on that level is really heating up. So organizations, in order to remain competitive, as LaToya talked about, speaking to culture, being sure that they're being intentional around what that strategy actually looks like, and do they stand behind that with conviction when it comes to having those tough conversations around biases, like all kinds of different things like that. That is one thing that on the executive level, system level within a lot of hospitals, that's definitely the conversation that's happening right now. Culture is super important on the executive level, and even as we're looking at generational differences, our the millennials and the folks that are coming behind us, culture is more important than money in a lot of different ways, as LaToya spoke about. I mean, it's so important to understand that that where you're going, you're going to be valued, you're going to be cultivated, you're going to be supported, you're going to be included in the change and all the things that are happening, especially in the healthcare space. So I think, the way to combat, I think we're going to go into that, but the way to combat a lot of these issues that we're facing from a talent perspective, executive all the way down to, the front line, is just really around culture and how we're tackling that as leaders.
I want to just quick add another challenge. What we're facing in West Virginia, and I think it's just the climate of our state as well, are where are the people too? Both in education and healthcare. I just went to an economic business summit and every industry was in there, IT, you name it, oil, gas, and they're all facing the same challenge. And unemployment rates are back to normal before COVID. So where are all the people that we need to fill the amount of openings I'm sure you all see, and you're hearing staffing issues and I'm overworked and there's not enough, right? And so we're trying to figure out as well, why are we not seeing applicants? And a big part of it, we were already in a shortage for a lot of areas, right? Before COVID, you add COVID, you have everybody saying, you know what, I'm just going to take my early retirement, is a big one that we're seeing a big percentage, or I'm going to go back to school. Maybe I want some different industries. And the third that we've seen from our research is the remote piece. Healthcare is really hurting because of remote. Some other areas are succeeding. So those are the three challenges that we're facing right now in this climate here in West Virginia right now for all industries.
Absolutely love that. So you all brought me here a lot sooner than I thought. As noted, I'm just a facilitator. A lot of these questions come directly from our members, and they did not hold back. And you all mentioned a few things: the importance of culture. You also noted that it's going to take more than money. And one of the questions is around travel nursing and the travel nurse culture. And you all are around the industry, in the industry. Couple quick stories. An individual that I know who was a frontline nurse, and just salute to all the nurses and for all the amazing work they're doing. He made a post and he said, in so many words, I've intubated patients, I've sat with grandmothers as they share their last breaths. I have, helped doctors transplant, tiny hearts. I've sat in the NICU with moms as they wait for their little ones to come out of the NICU, and these host of things. And he concluded by saying, really, there's no amount of money in the world that we can give a nurse to really compensate them for the life-saving work that they do. But then, I text some of my travel nursing friends and they're like, y'all need to pay us more. So I say all that to say, travel nursing, the culture, let's talk about it. Is it sustainable? Has this proven that we can pay nurses, $200,000, et cetera? I have thoughts, everyone has thoughts, but we'll hear from the experts on this one.
I'm honestly going to defer to LaToya. She's in
it
every single day.
Yeah,
okay?
They're being shy, y'all. It's okay. All right.
All right. First and foremost, you are right. There is not enough money to pay our nurses for what they do every single day. So hats off, absolutely correct. Now, is it sustainable? Absolutely not. We won't have any hospitals if we keep going at the rate that we're going. We're seeing the discussions, I'm going to keep it real. The discussions are really around, do we need to close some beds? Do we need to, look at our census and say we can only take so much now? Just because we have to be careful on how many travelers you bring in the door. And you can't have your units just fully being run by travelers either. There has to be a balance of a stable workforce who are consistent in there and know the culture, know your people, because your patients are going to sense that difference. If they're only 13-week assignments and it's a revolving door, that camaraderie, that trust is just lost. And how do we maintain our quality if we keep that going? So it's even more than the cost. Our concern right now is our brand, is who we are, is being affected, because we're bringing people in across the world who really, some of them don't care. They're there for that lovely, savings that they have, whether they're building a home or just saving for the future, or to just enjoy the money and the freedom of it. It is not going to be long term. So I'm going to be honest, we are thinking of a cutoff date and slimming that number back and getting very creative on our own solutions. A lot of organizations are doing their own version of a staffing contract versus using agencies to lower the cost. Different incentive bonuses for our organization to pay our own nurses. Some of the nurses that are not active on the floor, we will retrain you. And if you're in informatics, if you're an educator, if you are in any form of a nurse before, we will give you nice incentives to then come back on the floor. So a lot of solutions to reduce agency nurses because it is not sustainable. And again, we have to remember the normal shortage was only predicted to around 2024 to 2026. So at that point, a lot of organizations are going to start to cut back regardless, because there'll be enough new nurses trained and ready to go to where you won't need travelers. I'll stop there.
Awesome.
That was wonderful.
I could go on forever about this.
I can imagine the stories that you're hearing and the frustrations, because I hear it every day, when I'm having conversations with leaders I'm working with on searches. I mean, it is top of mind, if not number one, in the conversations and the way that they start, and frustration. So I can only imagine. It's a tough point for sure.
For sure.
Absolutely. I appreciate that context. And again, I think what we're saying is, definitely there's something special to be said about nurses that are willing to, really put their lives on the line and travel in various places. But there's just only a certain amount you can do from a culture standpoint when you're only there for X amount of weeks and X amount of periods. And I think we're learning that from a sustainability standpoint. Morgan, you touched on it as you hire executives and fill critical leadership locations across the country. Not only from a clinical standpoint, is how much of a consideration, how important is staffing to both the folks that are seeking talent and the talent that are seeking to be placed in these various roles?
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very important. I mean, when they're talking about staffing units, nurses, any type of frontline leaders or frontline folks, I mean, it's top of mind. As I mentioned, probably number one that comes to conversations when I say, hey, how's it going? Like, what's going on within your organization? Staffing and the cost of staffing and, shortages, labor shortages is probably the biggest pain point. So I think it's on top of mind of the majority of, if not all, the leaders across the country and within the healthcare space, especially with COVID, trying to figure out short-term fixes, but really long-term, because at the end of the day, I mean, this could happen again. So we're talking about, what does that look like in the future? Should this happen again? How will we be prepared? How we would train our staff, for example, or to piggyback off of what LaToya was talking about of retraining and, doing all of those things. So I think that people are thinking outside of the box, which I think is needed, from my perspective. And yeah, it's a huge pain point. It's something that everyone's thinking about. Very important.
Awesome. I appreciate that. So we'll close out this segment as we think about these global opportunities. And, as we've talked and as you all have talked, I think we all can agree that there's no right answer, but what are some of the creative things that either you, your organizations, or others are doing to recruit and retain that you're like, wow, that's a good idea. Something that we can share with our listeners and they can try to replicate or mimic to help us all win.
So from an executive, so for me, and I was just actually having this conversation with a potential client as we were just talking about, their pain points and, what they would be looking for a partner in search to be kind of advocating on their behalf. And, with the, I don't say war on talent, but it is a war on talent. I mean, speed of play is very, very important. I think the way that, the extra touch from an executive standpoint, making sure that we're highly communicative to our candidates, we're moving the process forward in a very efficient way. And we're keeping everybody in mind and really treating the candidate as if they're already a part of the team. It's easier said than done. Healthcare tends to be, transparently, there are a lot of layers. So it slows the process down quite a lot sometimes, but I think efficiency in the process, hands-on treatment, again, sharing and making people feel like they are a part of the team, that they're valued is very important. I go back to culture because it's so important, ensuring that our culture is to a point where we are inviting people, we are, inclusive, we are, making sure that people are cultivated. And another part that has been a big selling point and is going to be important, I think, for any leadership position or a rising leader would be someone knowing that they'll be poured into and cultivated and has opportunities to grow within an organization, and a defined timeline and a defined plan for that is also a selling point outside of the money, because again, you can throw money all day long, but if someone's goal is to hop in a director of operations position to then be a VP of operations within 2 to 3 years. Okay, what stretch projects are you going to give? What opportunities do you have for me to grow? So I think, and I stress, really, really stress especially when I'm having conversations with clients, because I think that there are opportunities, healthcare is dynamic, always changing. There will always be opportunities to grow, but to be able to outline that and make it real and put it to paper, and present that to a candidate and say, hey, we're committed to this. This is how we're going to do this together. I think beyond money, that's for someone who's driven and someone that people want to add to their organization, that's an easy selling point and a fix to a lot of this.
Yeah. So you gave a lot of the cultural things that they could do without money. Now I'm going to give you some of what you could do with money, because it all ties in. And to my first point, it has to be a menu of all of this. And so that is my right answer, is you cannot have a one thing that it's not going to fix it, whether you're for-profit, not-for-profit industry. No matter your industry, you are facing the same struggles we all are, where everyone feels they're stretched too thin. People are wearing multiple hats. And you're getting that complaint, like, what about us? And even to your point with travel nurses, and we're highlighting nurses, a lot of our industries, it takes a nurse to keep it going, but there's other roles that keep it going. So we often hear in housekeeping, what about us? Our IT folks, what about us? And so there's a lot of different roles in your organization that I want to make sure that you're feeling like everyone is feeling the love, okay? Everyone is feeling that their role is just as important, and everyone knows the value of what they bring to the table. And, there's tons of things about making sure they know the why, right? There's a global why. You have your mission, you have your strategy, your goals. But on that department level, on that specific role level, what is important to them to keep going through this? They're tired of COVID. They're tired of the excuses. So you have to be a transparent leader. This is the time to over communicate. And that's what we're doing. I mean, the communication is in every way, every form, on every level. Some creative things that we're doing outside of, making sure they feel appreciated, they feel acknowledged. We have some cool things, right? We have what's called a referral match. So if I'm giving a nurse 20,000 to come, hypothetical number, and you are a housekeeper and you found us that nurse, guess what? You're going to get that 20,000 as well. Okay. So whatever the sign-on bonus is, you will also get that bonus if you get us this person in the door. So our team, they love that. We also have different staffing contracts. So to acknowledge that we understand that you've been working hard, you've been doing these extra shifts already. So we're going to compensate you for these extra shifts. So if you give us 2 extra shifts a month, you will get a bonus at the end of it. The biggest feedback we got from engagement was work-life balance. And so how can you get creative with the shifts that your staff is working so that they feel like maybe they got some extra time off, or, you know, flex their PTO days. We do different cash outs, PTO cash outs at different times of the year, getting an extra holiday, things like that, that you can look at when it comes to work-life balance. As well as we've started different initiatives around education. So we know that you want to go back to school. How can we help you do that and help pay for it? We have different scholarships, grants, and funds that we offer to our employees. So that's just a few. There's a lot more on our menu, but you just have to think of different ways, both financially and non-financially, to incentivize your staff to continue the fight during this journey that we're all going through.
Okay.
Absolutely love that. I appreciate the dynamics, financial and non-financial options. So hopefully you all wrote those down. I know we're getting ready to end here, but we have a couple kind of important questions that we really want to hear from you all on. And this is again directly from members. I think this is an individual that has either experienced or seen someone experience a broken promise from an organization. So the question is, how important is negotiating at the start of a new role? We've all heard job promise, a 1 to 2 year plan, but what are you all thinking? So
Get it on paper. I'll say that one more time. Get it on paper. Get it in an email. If someone is trying to recruit you and recruit you hard, okay, and you know that you're going to be an asset to their team, and they can't live without you, get it in writing. I've been there. I think everybody on this call has been there. I can't speak, but I'm pretty sure it's happened. And I think that if you can have that level of accountability, or that piece of paper or that email or that expectation that you can hold your leader accountable to, along with you, obviously, throughout the journey, because you have to also be accountable. You run your ship, right? So you have to navigate your career. You have to take ownership of your own career, right? Nobody's going to do that for you. So, you know, once you have all that in writing, you have the expectations set up front, just like you have your salary, your benefits, etc. Okay. I feel passionate about this, as you can see. Once you have all that on paper, you know, what I used to do when I was within corporate America, and I worked for, you know, leaders and organizations, you know, I set up, you know, Monday morning meetings with my leader. And we sat down and we just talked about different things within the week, what we were doing, you know, just to keep myself accountable, and also, you know, keep that dialogue going, you know, with my leader. And then from a progression perspective, to make sure that we were aligning and progressing towards the goals that we were supposed to be progressing towards, you know, I had quarterly meetings. So every quarter we sat down, we talked about goals for the quarter that we'd made or whatever, where we landed, areas of opportunity. So along the way, you know, we're getting that constant feedback. We're getting that constant, you know, hey, here's where we are. So when it comes time for performance time, and the 1 year mark that we signed up for happened, it's black and white, right? So I'm a proponent of that. As you, again, I'll say it again, I'm very passionate about it, but all I can say is get it in paper, get a system, and hold yourself and your leader accountable.
Yeah. It may be hard. There may be some organizations that will tell you they cannot put that in your offer letter because there's a standard format, template, requirements. I've used that excuse. I'm guilty. I'm sorry. sorry.
I know. If they want you, listen.
They.
I have an out for you. I have an out. Okay. This is how you work around that. To Morgan's point, an email can work because here are the trick words that will catch you every time. Our goal is what we would like to see in this role is, but there is no history of it. There is no definition. Is it in the job description? Were there stories of the person before this role? This is where they moved up and how they got there. So I always ask, people to make sure you're asking this question of, the person who is in this role or within your organization, what are the pathways? Is there a clear ladder pathway? And is it documented? So whether you're in a role where it's step 1, step 2, or, specialist, technologist, lead, senior, manager, clearly define where you want to go, because not every organization is going to have a career ladder, a clinical ladder, any of that. And a lot of times they're hoping that the budget, that's another one that I used, is the budget going to allow us to increase your role or move you wherever? So know the vision, watch out for those keywords of our goal is, or the strategy will be. Get it in writing, like Morgan is saying, whether it's in your yearly appraisal, you put it down as your goal, and that you have action steps on how you're going to get there. And if they don't have those ladders in place, then help them create it, and maybe say this is going to be a savings in the long run by X. Because right now I think everyone's in a crunch for money and in their budget. So define what that looks like in a year or two, right? Maybe it's adding those projects first before the title. And then the title will equal whatever increase you want to see so that they can plan for it. And in order for you to stay in this organization and thrive and be your best self, right? This is what I need from you. And be okay with asking for that. It's all about how you ask for it and the approach. So come with the data, come with the facts, and define it for them if they don't have it. And make sure you guys have it documented, to Morgan's point, because there are some words that they can throw at you to avoid it every time.
Listen.
There it is. Appreciate that. You all found a way to pack in some hidden gems, some secrets, and some great insight, and just a great discussion in a short period of time. I appreciate you all. As noted, for most of us, it is the evening after work. So this just really highlights, one, your commitment to your craft, but also your commitment to the industry that we're all trying to make better, and the communities that we're trying to impact in a positive way. So I appreciate you all. We'll close it out by just telling folks how they can get in touch with you. Start with Morgan, finish with Latoya, and then close out this insider call.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Antoine. So it's been wonderful to talk to you all. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So to reach me, you can reach me at my email address is mbest, like my last name, at mlbestconsulting.com. And on Instagram, you can reach me at mlbestconsulting.
Awesome. All right. You can actually just email me as well. You'll be able to find me on LinkedIn. My name is here for you, Latoya Henry Ojibana, the same way. My email is Henry, HENRYLO, at Mon Health, MONHEALTHSYS.org. And again, hopefully you can send out our contact details as well. Antoine, feel free to email, text, or call me.
Right now, send a number. She said text, y'all. So we're gonna get that cell phone number.
No, you can. I'm happy to give anyone advice on interviewing, resumes, what to ask for, you name it. I'm your inside girl.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you all. We'll close it out. Thank you.
Bye.